You can't really comprehend that the man who gave his life for Chrissy was just stabbed in the back. What's even more tragic is that his friend, Cameron, not a stranger, twisted the knife. And Chrissy is the same Chrissy who stood by Jim Jones through all of his highs and lows. But now, the entire tale has been turned upside down by a leaked voice memo, a widely shared image, and a startling DNA test. Jim remains silent while the industry is ablaze. Are you prepared to confront the reality that could end Jim's career? This isn't simply gossip about friendships and his love life. It's an emotional explosion where loyalty, treachery, and greed finally show their true colors. This time, no one is being forgiven. Prepare yourself to hear the startling truth you won't want to miss, because it doesn't happen every day that we see two of the most well-known figures in the rap game, who established empires together, become adversaries. That's precisely what's happening with Cameron and Jim Jones. And believe me, nobody in the world realizes how serious this is. Let's go back in time to when Jim Jones and Cameron were at the height of their power, ruling the streets and controlling the airwaves together. No one could have imagined the startling breach that has been developing between them for years. Their chemistry was indisputable. They were family, or so it appeared. With Cameron, the charismatic wordsmith, and Jim Jones, the bold leader with a gritty edge, they helped form the Diplomats, a movement that revolutionized hip-hop and became irreplaceable in the public's eyes. Who could ever forget the memorable songs, the ostentatious lifestyle, and the belief that nothing could ever separate them? However, let's face it for a moment. Nothing lasts forever, especially in the rap game. We've all seen it. It's Jim Jones and Cameron's turn to face the consequences after hearing tales of friendships gone bad, trust broken, and loyalty called into doubt. At the center of this enormous catastrophe is a lady who, until now, appeared untouchable, Chrissy Lampkin, Jim's longtime girlfriend. They've been together for what seems like forever. Despite the ups and downs of their relationship, we all thought Jim and Chrissy were a combination, since they had that Bonnie and Clyde vibe. But what if I told you that one of Jim's most trusted individuals, Chrissy Lampkin, whom he refers to as his ride or die, may have been hiding a huge secret from him? Rumors have been going around for a while, and there are whispers in the streets that perhaps, just perhaps, there was more than just a cordial relationship between her and Cameron. And now, the whispers aren't just rumors anymore. There's damning evidence that has been slowly but surely making its way into public view. You're probably sitting there wondering, how could this happen? Jim and Cameron were brothers, yes, and they produced history together. But as you dig deeper, you constantly find indications that something wasn't quite right. It's not simply that for years Jim Jones and Cameron were the perfect duo, practically inseparable, and the epitome of loyalty. Fans would see them on stage, in interviews. What looked like a simple misunderstanding is actually a betrayal of the greatest order. Let's break it down. Even though we would want to think that what we see on television is the complete truth, there are always two sides to any story. Behind the scenes, people are always laughing, happy, and together. But we must remember that we never know what goes on behind closed doors. We've all seen the tension between them at times. The subtle barbs on social media, the small passive-aggressive comments in interviews. What if I told you that the real disintegration of their relationship began long before the affair was made public? You could practically feel the distance increasing, but nothing could prepare us for the shocking revelation we were about to get. Rumors began to circulate from people close to the crew, including insiders with ties to both Jim and Cameron, suggesting that something wasn't right. And then the unimaginable news broke. Chrissy and Cameron had been having a covert affair under Jim's nose for an unknown amount of time. Let's consider this: Chrissy Lampkin and Cameron. The idea alone. According to people familiar with Chrissy and Cameron's predicament, what began as a rumor has now turned into a full-blown controversy. And believe me, Jim Jones will not tolerate this. It may sound ridiculous, but sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. They had been concealing their relationship for years. They both maintained the facade of being friends in front of Jim, acting the part to the letter, but behind closed doors, they were supposedly involved in something far darker. And now the evidence is beginning to come to light. What exactly caused this betrayal? Jealousy? Tension at work? Or something else entirely that Jim didn't even anticipate? The truth is, no one knows for sure yet, but the pieces of the puzzle are starting to fit together. There have been long-standing fissures in their friendship, and this affair could be the final straw that causes everything to fall apart. However, Jim, this is more than just a love affair. It involves broken trust and deep feelings. Their friendship wasn't flawless by any means. There were always underlying tensions between Jones and Cameron, who are currently at the center of a huge power battle. They have been at odds for years, with personal problems, business dealings, and egos all contributing to the widening gap between them. When you look at their past, the signals were there. There were times when it seemed like they were on the verge of something bad, but nothing could have prepared them for what's coming next. On the verge of a spectacular fallout, but we had no idea when or how it would occur. Now that we do, let's get into the specifics. The tale goes like this. Cameron and Jim Jones are no longer only at odds over personal or professional issues. Chrissy and Cameron began having an affair years ago while they were both at the top of their careers. They kept it quiet so as not to upset anyone, especially with Jim in the picture. But their secret relationship was meticulously concealed. Whenever Jim and Cameron showed up together, they pretended to be best friends, devoted lovers, and family in public. But behind closed doors, a completely different tale was developing. At first, it was just innocuous little flirtations that went unnoticed. But over time, sources close to the matter said that Chrissy and Cameron's bond deepened, and they began spending more time together when Jim wasn't present. They would get together for late-night texting and secret dinners that would have raised eyebrows if anyone knew what was truly happening. And then one day, it just went too far. The affair got out of hand and their secret was revealed. As the rumors increased, so did the dangers. Chrissy was unable to control her emotions. Her supposed affair with Cameron was no longer something that was kept under wraps. Rather, it was turning into a ticking time bomb that was about to go off. But why did it take Jim so long to discover the truth? It might be easier than you think. Jim trusted Chrissy. It's natural to think that those closest to you would never betray you. But in the world of hip-hop, where loyalty is crucial, Jim never saw this coming. He trusted Cameron, and more than that, he trusted the bond they had formed, which he believed to be unbreakable. However, trust is manipulable. While Jim was busy concentrating on his business endeavors and music, Chrissy and Cameron were secretly planning their own. No one is certain when the affair started, but it seems to have lasted a long time. And now that their covert relationship is coming to light, Jim Jones is being pulled into the mess. The incident didn't just affect Jim, though. It sent shockwaves across the hip-hop world, leaving fans in disbelief. What to believe? These were the same individuals who had supported the Diplomats and admired Jim and Cameron as an invincible team. Everything they believed to be true was now being questioned. Who could they trust? And what additional mysteries lay beneath? This is affecting Jim Jones's career. He is currently working to repair his reputation. But as more information comes out, fans and industry insiders are starting to wonder, how did Jim not see this coming? How could he have overlooked the warning signs? Betrayal by someone you consider family carries a certain amount of shame. Jim is dealing with it in public, but what's worse for him is feeling caught off guard. He put his trust in those he believed would protect him, only to discover they were planning behind his back the entire time. However, this controversy is about more than just broken feelings. It's about the public outrage this affair has caused. Fans who once loved the trio are currently split. On one hand, there are those who are supporting Jim and are incensed at his betrayal by both Chrissy and Cameron. On the other hand, there are others who think Jim ought to have recognized the flaws in his relationships with both of them. The hip-hop community is being torn apart by the blame game. But the controversy doesn't end there. As more and more stories start to circulate, people are questioning, what now? Don't believe for a moment that Chrissy will escape the consequences undamaged. She might be the victim of numerous betrayals. Jim Jones is dealing with more than just personal grief. He's facing the collapse of everything he's worked so hard for. She has been Jim's partner for years, but this affair with Cameron has completely upended her world. Fans have already begun to criticize her, accusing her of being responsible for the breakup of what many considered to be the ideal hip-hop power couple. Chrissy, who was formerly revered, and Cameron are both firmly ingrained in Jim's personal and professional life. They've been there through thick and thin, and now they're dealing with a public relations nightmare. Because of her once strong, supportive image, Jim's downfall was largely caused by the affair, which had a knock-on effect not only on their relationships, but also on his career and public image. What comes next? Oh, the fallout is just beginning, and the industry is closely observing. How will Jim attempt to make amends with Cameron after this betrayal? Or is their friendship genuinely over? Will Chrissy try to mend her relationship with Jim? Or has that ship already sailed? Most importantly, what does this mean for Jim's career going forward? One thing is certain, this issue isn't going away anytime soon, as more information comes out, the public's interest in the drama will only increase. However, what Jim, Cameron, and Chrissy do next will determine whether or not this scandal passes or explodes further. Cameron, two individuals he has trusted for years, could do this to him? These fans are incensed, taking to social media to demand a boycott of both Chrissy and Cameron. On the other hand, some people think Jim's demise was unavoidable, arguing that Jim was too blind to see what was happening right in front of him. But what about Chrissy? What part does she play in all of this? His connection with both Chrissy and Cameron was always too complicated and tense. Keep in mind that she is the subject of this scandal. Although she has been Jim's partner for years, her alleged affair with Cameron has drastically changed how the public views her. The backlash has been quick, and Chrissy, who was once seen as a vital component of Jim's success, is now being portrayed as the villain by unforgiving fans who earlier respected her for her courage and commitment. Some even assert that her actions were motivated by jealousy, animosity, and a desire to seize control of Jim's empire. Whether that is true or not, one thing is certain: she is dealing with the aftermath in a way she never would have thought possible. However, let's take a moment to concentrate on Jim. This incident has put him in a difficult situation, and it's obvious that he is making an effort. The truth is that Jim has few options, because the harm has been done, and there is no turning back. The Yaomai. Public won't forgive this betrayal easily, and neither will he be able to make amends. Will he cut off his relationship with Cameron and Chrissy? The truth is that Jim Jones has spent years creating a reputation in the rap industry. He has seen ups and downs, but he has always been able to get back up after a setback. However, this betrayal goes deeper than anything he has ever experienced. His trust in Cameron and Chrissy has been broken, and fixing that won't happen soon. If Jim wants to go on, he will need to do some significant introspection and make some difficult choices. One of those choices is whether he can ever make amends with Cameron. Once inseparable, the two created an empire together, and their bond appeared unshakable. However, now that their trust has been destroyed, Jim must consider whether he can ever forgive someone. Forgiveness may be a virtue, but in this instance, it's difficult to see how Jim could ever completely move past this. In addition, Chrissy violated him in this way. Can he work with someone who was not only unfaithful, but did so behind his back? With someone who was supposed to be family? How can she confront Jim after years of being his rock? Their relationship has obviously been permanently altered, and there are whispers that Jim has already begun to distance himself. He has been seen at events without her, and there is no indication that they have shared anything together on social media. It is unclear whether they will be able to mend their relationship, but it appears that the harm might already be irreparable. Chrissy has her own problems to deal with, including a public relations nightmare where she will have to face people from all over the internet calling her out. The affair with Cameron has been the talk of the town, and regardless of the damage control she attempts to exercise, the stain on her reputation will last for a long time. The public is cruel and will remember. Chrissy will need more than a sincere apology to regain the respect she has lost. However, what does all of this mean for Jim's future? Jones and his profession in the entertainment sector face a certain amount of unpredictability. Scandals like these have the power to either shatter or strengthen a person. Jim has experienced drama in the past and has always come out on top. But this time feels different. The stakes are higher, and the treachery is more profound. Will he be able to rebuild his empire from the ashes of this scandal, or has he lost too much to ever recover? The music industry is a fickle beast, and loyalty is crucial. As demonstrated by Jim Jones, Cameron, and Chrissy, this drama has exposed the negative aspects of wealth and celebrity, including the backstabbing, falsehoods, and harsh realities that no one wants to hear. However, Jim will need to delve deep if he hopes to recover. He must accept the treachery, face this head-on, and figure out how to move forward. The effects of this affair will be felt for a long time, and it will be difficult to clean up the damage. The fans are watching and waiting to see what he does. Next. Will Jim Jones ever be able to move on from this betrayal? Will Chrissy and Cameron ever be able to move on? It's yet unclear how they will mend their own damaged reputations. But one thing is certain. The drama is only beginning, and will soon get much more intense. Let's face it. This whole situation is crazy, with the betrayal, the controversy, and the drama all unfolding in front of our sight. And it is impossible to ignore. Therefore, I would like to know, do you believe Jim Jones will ever be able to trust Cameron or Chrissy again? Will his career survive this controversy, or has the damage been done? And what about Chrissy? We want to know what you think about this bizarre mess, so please leave your opinions in the comments below. If you believe Jim deserves better than this, don't forget to use the like button. Will she ever redeem herself, or is she now the antagonist in this story of treachery? Share this video with your friends who need to hear the truth. Understand that this tale will continue, so please ensure that you have subscribed. Then activate that alert bell so you never miss the most recent information. We'll have all the juicy details right here. Stay tuned as this story continues to develop. Stay attentive and keep in mind, when the truth comes out, you'll discover it here first.